Chieftain Roll Call. It's presented by Eastern Water Solutions on South Main and Bellefontaine. It's also thanks to the Chieftain backers, a new club at Bellefontaine High School. And if you're a first-time viewer of our show, what we do is we spotlight student athletes at Bellefontaine High School and student organizations as well. Rick Reed is with us. He is a longtime contributor. He's also a coach and teacher at Bellefontaine High School. And Jack Varner, who's a football player at BHS. Jack's already a junior. Time flies. And he's a leader in the school in many different clubs as well, including the Chieftain backers. Guys, we want to talk NFL. That's a little different for us. Usually we're talking about, the Chieftain football team or maybe the basketball team. That might still come up. Later on our show, we'll have Bellefontaine Wrestling. They just had the Jimmy Mack Invitational over the weekend and did pretty well. But, Rick, you're probably the expert of the NFL of all three of us, maybe. We'll see what Jack thinks.
Don't sell Jack short.
But here we are. We're 13 games in. Of local interest, the Cincinnati Bengals are 9-4. They're tied with Baltimore for first in the AFC North. Cincinnati's also hot. They've won 5 straight. The Browns are, and I'm a Browns fan, but they're 5-8. I think their season's really over. And I think it's actually been over for a while. They can't put it all together. One week they have this problem, the next week they have that problem. The Bengals on the flip side are hot. And the thing about Cincinnati we'll get into in a minute, but I think what gets underrated about Cincinnati is their defense. I think their defensive coordinator is a very good coach. But first, the floor is yours. Anything in the NFL you want to talk about first?
Well, I think it's a little bit wide open in the AFC. I think you have 3 really good teams. I think maybe I could argue they're the 3 best teams in the league. Now, I know that the Eagles have a record that would argue they're there. I would, if you gave me the Bengals, Chiefs, Bills to win the Super Bowl, I'd give you the rest of the teams. I think that's probably fair. I get those 3 and you get all 29 others, which, obviously a lot of them aren't making the playoffs. I think that the AFC's had some really good football. I think the NFC's exciting. I don't think it's quite as strong. I'd rather be in the playoffs in the NFC. I think that's safe to say. The Eagles are that team that every week I think, all right, this is the week that the Eagles come crashing down, and it keeps not happening. I think it was the Giants this past week. I was convinced that Giants plus 7.5 was the right way to go, and the Eagles just pounded them. Lesson there is don't ever trust Daniel Jones and the Giants. I should have known that. But, the Vikings in the NFC, I think they're a little smoke and mirrors. I followed them pretty close. They're another team kind of like the Eagles. I thought they're going to eventually crash down. They were actually underdogs at Detroit, which caused a lot of people to raise their eyebrows because Detroit's, now Detroit has been hot, but Detroit's maybe still sub 500 football team.
Yes.
But Detroit handled them. So I don't trust the Vikings. I don't trust Kirk Cousins. I trust Justin Jefferson. Dalvin Cook has not been. As a guy that has Dalvin Cook in one of my fantasies, I play 2. I don't even like playing 2. I'd rather play 1. But Dalvin has not been a big, he's just not been a big player this year. He's been very pedestrian. The Niners are probably the team that in the NFC can't keep a quarterback healthy. Trey Lance out for the season. Jimmy Garoppolo probably out for the season. They go down to this dude, Brock Purdy, who I'd never heard of. Where did he go to school?
Iowa State.
Okay, yeah, that was under my radar. I heard he was Mr. Irrelevant. So you kind of thought, all right, Tom Brady versus Mr. Irrelevant. It was a bloodbath. I didn't really watch it, but I was following it while I was watching another game, 35-0 at one point maybe.
Yes.
Bad. So... Yeah.
Niners, by the way, if you weren't watching, Niners had a 35-0 lead.
Right. Yeah,
not Tom Brady.
Well, Niners are really good defensively. The Niners have, even though their quarterback's been a revolving door, a lot of weapons offensively. Getting Christian McCaffrey, that was a huge get. Deebo Samuel's really good. Brandon Ayuk. George Kittle doesn't do a whole lot anymore. He's actually become an old school blocking tight end. He doesn't touch the ball a whole lot.
Still good though.
No, still good. And defensively, it starts with Bosa. I think they kind of favor him to be the defensive player of the year, Nick Bosa, finally staying healthy. So wide open in the NFC. AFC, I would say it's those 3 teams, the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Bengals. The Ravens are sneaky. They could scare you. The Dolphins, they've had a pretty good season. I feel like they've lost a couple straight, lost to the Bills this past weekend. Tua has emerged as a legitimate guy. They were trying to replace him, I think, this time last year. No, he did get hurt as well. Tyreek Hill's had an MVP type season. Chargers kind of should be better than they are. Scary though.
Well, last week the Chargers beat the Dolphins.
Yes.
And then the Bills beat the Jets. But so I guess the way to break this down into before Jack talks, we really have, I'd say, 6 teams that we kind of look at. And you could get a dark horse like Miami, but I would say Bills, Chiefs, Bengals, Niners. You didn't say this one yet. Cowboys, Eagles. Would you say those are the top
I don't
6?
trust the Cowboys, but
right.
no, you're right. Yeah, Cowboys are maybe second best record in the NFC, or maybe third, right there with San Fran. Yeah, I mean the Cowboys. I just feel like I've seen this movie so many times with the Cowboys that they have a good regular season, and then I don't know. There's something about them I don't trust.
Okay, Jack, your thoughts after 13 games now.
All right, to start, Browns Bengals. Even though the Bengals won, can we all agree it's still like the Browns state? Like I feel like there's significant more Browns fans than there are Bengals fans in Ohio.
No doubt. Been around a lot longer.
Like he just
Never really thought about that, but yeah.
we still have a better fan base, even though we're not very good.
What year did the Browns start? 30s?
46.
What year did the Bengals start?
70, I believe.
That's what I thought. That's a big difference. I mean, think of
Yeah.
the generation of guys and girls that grew up in West Central, speaking to that just became Browns fans. And especially when Jim Brown was running wild and the Browns were winning with Otto Graham and winning not pre-Super Bowl, it's tough to not want to root for them.
Well, with that being said, Browns are winning the Super Bowl next year, so we'll be all right. Super Bowl predictions this year. I got the Bills in the AFC. I think they're going to take the AFC. I think they've been so close the last 2 years. I just feel like third time's a charm. And despite the quarterback play, I'm taking the 49ers in the NFC. They're so good.
Wow.
I don't trust, like he said, he named all these teams, Cowboys, Eagles, Vikings, and they just all feel like teams that are eventually going to – I will say I think the Eagles are they probably proved to be legit at this point, but I'm taking the Niners.
I like that. I mean, I think, if my life depended on it, I'd probably go that way.
Really?
Yeah, I think Bills. I said at the beginning. I mean, not that I was out on some big limb. I think the Bills are, and Jack said it. They're due. Sometimes it's like a coronation, especially at quarterback, and it feels like Josh Allen. He's really, really good. He's really, really good. He is different. His build. I watch. He is my quarterback in our main primary fantasy league that I do with his dad. And we're a dynasty, so that means you keep the players year after year. If you don't know what a dynasty is.
I don't know a lot about.
Well, most fantasy leagues redraft every year. And that's cool. But with a dynasty, once you have your team, you keep your team. So you do, you take it more serious. Every move you make, whether it's a trade or a draft of a rookie, put a little more thought into it. Because you say, if I screw this up, I'm going to be miserable not just this year, but 5 years from now. And getting my hands, I traded Russell Wilson. That was a bigger deal, but I traded Russell Wilson at one point for Josh Allen. That was when Russ was cooking. He was a MVP type guy. So big Josh Allen guy now.
Well, and as a Browns fan, that's I know Jack's a Browns fan too. Yeah. Hindsight's 20/20, but Baker Mayfield, who did have a good game, by the way, a few days ago. He did. That's what's so weird.
We've
about
talked about Baker before.
but
I think last year. I think I called this.
But they take Baker Mayfield, and then they could have had Josh Allen. I don't know why more teams weren't on Josh Allen. I don't know if it was his smaller school at Wyoming or what have you, but just to watch him, he's got it. I mean, he is a big, fast man.
Late bloomer, wasn't very heavily recruited, but I feel like Wyoming was his only offer.
It was.
Jack, you were on Team Baker, weren't you?
No, I was on team. I was absolutely on Team Josh Allen. Now, here's the thing, though. If we're being honest here, if the Browns draft Josh Allen, he's a bust. It don't matter.
Well,
he wouldn't have panned out.
You don't think they'd win the Super Bowl next year with him?
Well, no.
Oh,
we have to find a quarterback that was already good somewhere else and bring him in.
Yeah,
because we're just
said for that.
We can't develop quarterbacks.
But I know you're maybe you're being silly. I don't know, but you really think the Browns next year will be really, really good, or you?
I actually do think they'll be really good. Deshaun Watson, he showed a little bit of flashes of that old self in the Bengals game, and I mean, he hasn't played football in 2 years, so
accuracy's been an issue. Would you say that?
Well, yeah.
I've only watched some of their stuff.
But I feel like it's any sport. You golf?
Timing.
You ever golf, Coach Reed?
Not in a while.
Well,
rough.
So if you went back out there right now, I bet you wouldn't be very good.
No.
I see what he's saying.
Deshaun Watson wasn't very good after 2
the
years.
timing. You need the timing. But I hope you're right. I would love to see the Browns get to be really good, but they have too many other holes for me.
Shouldn't they be better right now?
They're
They should be.
talented.
They make too many errors on defense.
It's weird.
I mean, they'll leave guys that are open for like 10 yards on deep patterns.
They've drove me nuts. I have picked them, I'll call it, quite a few times over the last couple of years to win, and they kill me. They should be better than they are. Their defense should be better than they are, right?
Well, Joe Woods is terrible. He's got to go. Now, that's the key. He's got to go. But
Well, I think that will happen, Jack. I think
well,
he will
thank
get
God.
fired.
His
but
dad wants Stefanski gone as well.
I don't
Luke
agree with
Varner.
that. That's not fair to him. I mean, he didn't really have his quarterback this year. He's on the hot seat though.
That's
He's got to
fair.
figure it out next year.
Well, I'm not sure about the Bills, though, and I think Allen's fabulous, but they don't run the ball well enough to me, though.
Well, they don't always try to run the ball. They run the ball with him a fair amount.
Well-
They kind of treat their running back by committee. Singletary, he's not it. James Cook, the rookie, he's not it. Didn't they get Naheem Hines, I believe? He's not it. He's a guy. I mean, really, they're a pass-heavy team that when they really want a first down on the ground, they run Josh Allen.
I really like how the Niners play. I'm a big Nick Bosa fan. I think he's an outstanding player. Another Canton guy, I think,
Yeah,
by the way. I
no
think he's a
doubt.
Hall of Fame
Yeah.
type player eventually. But I just can't get there with the quarterback situation. I mean, they're going to have everything else really be so strong on their team. Their blocking, their tackling, their defense, their kicking game. I mean, that's asking a lot out of the other.
Scoring defense, I think they're number one. If they're not number one, they're right there. And the Bills are actually a little better defensive than people give them credit
Their
for.
defense is pretty
But
good.
I mean, like Jack said, I mean, who in the NFC? If they played one game against aren't they favored probably against anybody in the NFC?
Besides maybe the Eagles.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that obviously it'd be close, but now it would be probably at Philly. Philly's ahead of them right now. Philly's got one
3
loss.
games. Yeah.
Yeah,
12-1 to
Philly's
9-4.
about got it wrapped. So, yeah, at Philly probably favors Philly, but I love what they do offensively. I love just kind of how they use, is it Kuschek, the fullback? Is that how you say his name?
Juszczyk.
Juszczyk.
From Ohio.
Now, where's he from?
Cloverleaf, Lodi.
Oh, up in your neck
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
woods.
pretty close. Then went to Harvard. I didn't go there.
Really? See, I didn't know that about him. He went to Harvard.
Yeah.
Well, I love that dude. Honestly, I'll just go ahead and say it. I spent a lot of time watching them and envisioning Hayden Mans doing some of the stuff he does for the 2023 Chiefs. I think, it's a little off topic, but we talked a little bit about Hayden has played that sniffer position for us, and we've done that now for quite a while. Toby Smith ran a lot of that sniffer. And then the last game, I moved Hayden into the backfield. I don't know how many people noticed it, but I kind of moved him closer to Tavian. We just started feeling like, and LK as well, Landon Kelly played there. We just felt like him in the backfield was giving us a little more what we wanted. And I've had, a revelation that why don't we just play him back there all the time? So if Dave Tainer at the new Sydney coach.
Sydney, from Graham to
If
Sydney.
he's a loyal roll call listener, he'll see it in the scrimmage. I think we're going to move that sniffer and put him in the backfield. And a lot of that, and then I think we're going to move our tailback and put him in pistol. And they do that with McCaffrey. And we've done all that stuff. I mean, everything you do, you've kind of done before, and you recycle and you steal. But I watched San Francisco, and I'm like, that could be us. That could, that T, that McCaffrey. Sometimes you look at Riley Neer and you think, all right, he would be our version of McCaffrey. Because McCaffrey's not a carry the ball 25 times between the tackles. He can do it. He's just not, that's not his thing. He's motion, screens, and I think that I really like what they do offensively. And obviously it's not based on the quarterback.
Yeah, that's true. So
And we've got a good quarterback.
I was going to say,
How
our
about
quarterback's,
Vice?
our
Yeah, I'm not
quarterback's,
trying to say, like-
our quarterback's terrible.
No,
so
I'm not trying to create. I'm just saying, honestly, part of it for me was Hayden Mans. There's no doubt, that's not a revelation. If I'm a Chieftain football fan, I'm sitting around saying, all right, what's the 2023 Chiefs look like? I mean, quite a few guys had huge seasons. C.J. Wilson broke records. Tavian St. Clair broke records. Running backs that carried the ball broke records. Or they didn't break records, but they had lots of yards. Okay, repeat that. Where can you get value? You've heard me say this before. Where could you get value? You haven't gotten it before. I mean, you don't have to look too hard to see Hayden Mans, right? And say, how about that guy? He's get a little more out of him. But you know, got to get him the ball. It's not on him. We just get him the ball a little bit more, and just use him more. But part of it is, you know, he's so important defensively. But we're off track. But
Yeah, he is a great defensive player.
he's unique.
I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in which is maybe worth 2 cents tops. But how about offensive tackle? You know, you're right.
If he listens to this, you'll hear from him.
Why is that?
Oh,
You don't like it?
no, he doesn't like it. No.
It's not a democracy.
It's not. It's not. But he, my answer to that, and I've heard that a bunch of times, and I'll put my stamp on it and say, if there's anyone, I'm the O-line coach. If there's anyone that has fought to keep Hayden off the O-line, it's me. That's not just me. There's others that agree. My answer always is he blocks at the point of attack at fullback, sniffer, H, whatever you want to call it. He's blocking at the point of attack. If you put him at tackle, you know, stuff away from him, it's not near as important. So I can put him at the most important block, and I can give a 6'2" plus, 240-pound plus that can run and catch, and I can use him that way.
Well, that is a great argument.
But I can would Hayden be a good lineman? Sure, but that's why he's a good H-back.
Okay. Let me flip it. One last question about this. At a lot of schools, this is the old school football here, and you might, you know more than I do. But usually your right tackle, that's a strong side. That's where your tight end side is, your fullback side, the right side of the line, is your biggest, strongest, toughest guy. So wouldn't that be Hayden Mans? Or does it kind of depend what offense you're going to run?
A lot of schools, he'd also be an old school fullback too.
Okay.
Like if you put your hand in the dirt. I mean, Hayden's an athlete. I don't know how we got down this trail. Coach Brown's probably gonna be mad at me, but Hayden Mann's a great football player.
We're just debating it.
We're not saying he's an athlete. He can do a lot of things, but our sniffer / whatever we're gonna call it, H is what we call it, but it might be more of a fullback. That has always been a guy that we say. I mean, we moved. Chase Miller played there at times, and we ended up moving him to line because we had to, and we had other guys that could do that. Anthony Carruthers played there. Bruno Pattison played there. Bruno Pattison, you'd say same thing about him, right? That's a tackle.
Could be a right tackle.
But and Bruno wasn't as certainly coordinated. Hayden's really advanced with his hands and stuff. Bruno was more of a trench player, but we've always done that. That's could be wrong. I mean, we'll look back at the end of the season. If I was wrong, I'll sit here and tell you I was wrong. But I think keeping him there. What do you think, Jack?
Oh, I like your idea more. I think. Well, yeah. Hayden's so athletic. I mean, Hayden is really fast. And, yeah, and he runs people over, and yeah, I like him because we got other dudes that can play tackle.
Well,
It's not like we have starting I don't know, some 4'3", 120-pound guy.
Well, plus, how much do you want to play him on offense?
Well, and that too. That's a good point. He's going to play every down on defense. And, we don't like any of our guys to play every down both ways. There's a few guys that have done it, and they're the kind of guys you're like, they just don't get tired. Landon Kelly's a guy like that he could have, and he didn't do it a lot on defense, but he could have. He just doesn't get tired. You're like, all right, okay, it'll be fine. But there are some dudes that just get exhausted. And, yeah, Hayden would be tired. And I don't like to rotate my tackle. But H-back, we can go different personnel. We can go, 4 wide, bring in more of a skill guy. Absolutely, that's a good point.
Okay, back to the NFL. A couple other things here. Then we're going to talk Chieftain wrestling. We still have 4 weeks to go in the NFL. Again, the Bengals are 9-4. This is the Ohio slant. Browns are 5-8. Around the AFC, I know Rick really follows that. The Bills are 10-3. The Chiefs are 10-3. So those are the best records there. NFC, Philadelphia's 12-1, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple other things to ask you about this, and Jack, I'm sure will weigh in. Coach, these awards, if the season ended today, MVP, you're always the guy that has the odds. Who's the favorites. But,
I read that. I don't participate, but I've read about it.
But the MVP candidates, a couple, 3 of them that you would look at. Coach of the year, maybe I don't know, surprise of the year. That's not really an award, but a guy that surprised you.
Well, the MVP, I mean, the betting markets are saying Jalen Hurts is like even money, so he's the fave. Then Mahomes is second, Burrow's third. Burrow's, if you're looking for a hot tip, Burrow is like 6-1. He's the guy that if you're looking for a little bit of a long shot. Josh Allen's 20-1, which that surprised me. And his numbers haven't quite been. Plus, there's maybe a little bit of the expectation with him. I think Hurts gets a little extra credit because he's kind of Johnny come
Newcomer,
lately.
yeah. But,
Yeah, I mean it's probably between. I would say Mahomes, count him out. I would say it's between. Hurts will get it unless Burrow just comes on these next how many weeks we got left? 5, 4. Yeah, 4. If Burrow's kind of dude can throw for 400 4 straight weeks. If he does that, and him and Jamar Chase light it up and they go undefeated out, then maybe he could steal it. Coach of the year. I mean, you got to look at the dude in Philly, Sirianni.
Played at Mount Union, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, isn't he I mean, I don't know what the betting markets would say, but he's got to be the favorite, I would think. I think Kyle Shanahan's got to get some credit. I mean, the dude's played 3 quarterbacks, and San Fran's still doing well. Andy Reid and McDermott, they're kind of the victim of, well, we knew you were going to be good. McCarthy in Dallas, I mean, right? McCarthy? Yeah. Is that his name, Mike McCarthy? Coach Brown? I always think he looks like Coach Brown, Jason Brown. Yeah, he's probably in there somewhere. Detroit, what about my dude Dan Campbell?
I love that guy.
I kind of am a little bit of a Detroit fan.
Kneecaps.
My brother-in-law got a shirt he's a big Detroit fan. My wife's uncle-in-law is a Detroit native, diehard Michigan, diehard Red Wings, diehard Tigers. I respect. I mean, I struggle with these Michigan fans, but he's born in Detroit. You got to be a Michigan. I've let him. He's come to my house for Ohio State, Michigan. That's rare, but I appreciate his fandom. And we Christmas there Saturday or Sunday, the Lions played the Vikings, and they were jacked for that game. I like Dan Campbell. I thought at first when I saw it was a little bit of a shtick, like, all right, dude, we get it. But I think it's real. I think that's him.
Okay.
Hey, I got something real quick here. I said 6 weeks ago when the Lions were 1-7, pull it up, morning announcements. I said the Lions were going to go on a run and make the playoffs. I said it.
They're on a run.
They're 5-8, and their last 4 games they suck. They got the Bears, the Jets, the Packers.
I think they're actually 6-7.
Yeah, they are 6-7.
You got me worked up here because you made that face at me.
They got. You're right. They got the Bears. They've got the Jets. They've got the Packers,
and they got somebody else.
It's Carolina. It's Panthers.
4 not very good teams.
Yeah, if they go 3-1, now they're chasing Washington and maybe Seattle. I think they're the 2 teams ahead of them.
They said if they went out and Seattle loses 1 game, they're in.
I think they have the tiebreaker versus both of them. And neither one of those teams are exactly like.
Well, and Seattle's got the 49ers and a few other. So,
before you get to your MVP and Coach of the Year, I don't know all the betting stuff that Rick does or the stats per se, but to me the MVP almost every year could be Josh Allen. I think if he breaks his leg, they are in major trouble because he's like the guy that runs the ball for them pretty much.
Yeah, they're done.
So your MVP and Coach of the Year.
MVP, Jalen Hurts. My Coach of the Year personally would be Kyle Shanahan, but it's probably going to go to the Philly guy. Jalen Hurts, what was I going to say? Oh, one thing. Why did imagine the 49ers if they would have just taken Justin Fields instead of Trey Lance? They'd be sitting in a totally different spot right now. They would be I would argue they'd be the Super Bowl favorites.
Now, Trey Lance is hurt, though.
Yeah, but he wasn't very good when he played. They didn't even throw the ball. I mean,
right.
He got hurt because they ran him like a running back. Looking back on that.
Now, Fields played. Lance didn't play much last year, right?
No.
He didn't play at all.
Fields played the whole year, right? And took his lumps.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's something to be said for that the dude, got better.
Yeah.
Surprise guy, you had mentioned that.
Are you surprised at Tyreek Hill?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. You're not surprised that Tyreek Hill is one of the best talents in the league, maybe in a long time. I just can't believe he's putting up the kind of numbers he is. I said that I traded him in fantasy football, traded him away, thinking, all right, the party's over. You're going to Tagovailoa Viola is your quarterback. He's a guy, that's a surprise guy. He's not on that MVP conversation. He's down in that second, third tier. He's had a pretty good year. Now, they're a little bit up and down. They're a little streaky. They'll win a couple, 3, and I think they've lost 2 straight. I feel like they lost. Well, I said that.
Yeah.
Lost to the Bills, I think, last week.
And Chargers. They got
Chargers
killed by the Chargers.
They lost 2 last week, that's the underachieving team to me. That's the team that if you asked me before the season, I said Chargers, put a little $20 on the Chargers, but something's just not right there.
Okay. All right. Do you have a team that you really root for? Or you're just
no, people ask me that, no, I when I was younger, I rooted for Ohio State so much that it kind of dwarfed the NFL for me. And I kind of always rooted. One thing I pride myself on is I'm not a hater. I root for my friends. Like my friends, most of them are Browns fans. So I kind of, his dad will say sometimes I should just admit it that I'm rooting for him. So I might make a little, I'll pick the Browns in a contest and then I'll root for them. But I don't like hating on it. I had an old roommate that was a Bengals fan, so I kind of rooted for that. And I root for Joey Burrow. I can't. Joey Burrow's a Buckeye. Joey Burrow was from Athens. I'm gonna root for him. I root for talented people. I don't know that there's anyone I really don't like. I can't stand Aaron Rodgers. I hope the Packers suffer. I don't. I do not like Aaron Rodgers. There's really no other team I would say. I kind of like the Lions, but that's because of my family. I'm sitting at Christmas. I want to get excited. Hey, let's root for the Lions. I'm rooting for exciting games down the stretch.
Well, we'll make you a Browns consultant. If you looked at them, and again, I'm a Browns fan. I don't know what Jack's going to think of this question. Why can't they fix, like if you had to pick 2 or 3 things for them to, they're not going to fix it the next couple of weeks, but like in January through July, what do they need to fix?
I think the tweet that longtime suffering Browns fan coach Mark Brunswick puts repeatedly on Twitter is organizational rot. I think that's what he writes every time. He says it over and over. He replies, organizational rot. They do feel like a smitten franchise. They should be better than they are. And you probably could say that. I mean, this is now, 25 years of this?
Yeah.
23, 24 years where
like
they've only been good.
So
They've only been good, once, maybe twice?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what their problem is. I guess, like Jack said, let's get to the offseason. Let's see if a real year of Deshaun Watson gets him right. And if it doesn't, Stefanski will be gone.
Do you think that Watson will be really good, or you just don't know?
He was really good. He's really talented. Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to imagine he won't be good. But will he be good enough to fix the organizational rot of the Cleveland Browns? I don't know.
Well, first thing, if I would just pick one thing, and we'll see what Jack says, and we'll wrap this up and get to Bellefontaine Wrestling. They got to get better defensively. They should be I think, a pretty good defense. They're a poor defense.
Yeah.
What would you fix starting in January if they gave you the keys to the front office in Berea?
I feel like, their defense. Joe Woods would be the first thing I do. I get rid of him. I don't know. It's terrible. It's just how many times people wide open, like down the field.
Yeah.
It's just
Varner
weird.
complains about Luke. When I say Varner, complains about the DBs a lot.
And it feels like it's not on them sometimes. It feels like sometimes they just, I don't know. It's just weird. My dad, he hates LSU guys. Greedy. He said, we should never draft an LSU guy ever
Hates on
again.
Denzel Ward, too.
Which is weird. I don't agree with
There's
that.
a lot of people say it's
Joe
weird.
Burrow's an LSU grad in grad school.
Now, the one thing I'll say in his defense, since he's not here, is I think what he really wants to say is Denzel Ward is fine. He's just not top 5 corner money, which that's maybe argue. You might be able. I'm like dialed in now. I think those pro football focused guys, like they track that stuff for positions that don't have stats as much. I think they still really like Denzel Ward.
I can tell you the thing with Denzel Ward is, my dad, he gets hurt a lot. Like he does get hurt a lot, and
I thought you meant your dad gets hurt a lot.
Denzel Ward gets hurt a lot.
Denzel Ward has hurt him.
The game.
Now,
he has hurt him.
My dad likes to do this thing where he'll miss 3 games in a year, and my dad kind of goes, he missed 3 games that year. He'll say, well, he missed 7 games. He always adds about 4 numbers to everything. So it's always worse than it sounds. Or he'll give up a touchdown and be like, he gave up 7 touchdowns that year.
Yeah.
I don't know why he hates on Denzel
Tough
Ward so
position,
much.
though. I mean, it's the position where when you're bad, everyone knows it.
Ohio State versus Michigan. They got exposed there.
Yep.
I will say this, because I know we have one show left before the holidays. Next week, we're going to do some Bellefontaine basketball, I believe.
Yeah.
I'd like to also work behind the scenes on this, maybe get the Bellefontaine band in before they go to Orlando. So
Jeremy Carg, if you're listening.
yeah, I'll get with them. But the Buckeyes, I'm sure you're starting to get dialed in, even though we're 2.5 weeks out, maybe. What's it take for them to win?
I mean, a lot of the cliches. I mean, play really well, but be aggressive offensively. Defensively, just be more sound. Just play discipline. I'm going to hit all the cliches. Yeah. I think, I'll focus on offense. I said it last week. Get Marvin Harrison the ball. Get Marvin Harrison 13, 14, 15 touches, and just just get him absolutely involved and say, this is something you don't have an ability to stop, and if you do stop it, it means you've absolutely given us something else.
Okay.
And don't hold anything back. I mean, it doesn't have to be goofy. Just go for broke. No fans are going to complain about that. If it's 4th and 4 at the minus 49, or not quite to midfield, and we go for it, and we don't get it, I'm not going to complain. Let's go.
As a coach, though, they're the underdog here. Now,
Yeah.
not a big underdog.
7.5.
Yeah, I mean, at kind of a home game for.
Oh, yeah,
Georgia.
more than kind of.
But there'll be a lot of Buckeye fans there. I mean,
Right.
But is it? I don't know if easier is the right word, but is it more relaxing to coach when you're not expected to win and you can just let it all go?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd say. I mean, now they're really good, but the most enjoyable coaching jobs of my life have been on teams that aren't as good, just because you relax a little bit. Like, hey, well, what do we got to lose? Like we can go have fun and we can be aggressive and do the things that we always kind of want to do, but you get a little tight if it's there's a lot at stake. Now there's still a lot at stake for Ohio State, so it's not exactly.
Well, that's what I thought Michigan did when they played at Ohio State last month.
I agree.
They let it go.
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, have a good week, and we will come back next week and talk some Bellefontaine basketball. If you're looking to go to a game they host Jonathan Alder this Friday.
Chieftain Backers Night Friday. We'll have gift certificates to all our Backers members. Been on the announcements. We'll have some $25 Iron City gift certificates to give out to Backers members that sit in the jock block.
Very well, very good. I think it's frat night. Is that right, Jack?
Yep.
Because every game there's like a theme
It is
for the jock
frat
block.
night. Yep.
You got a khaki shorts and a polo ready? Maybe a
Working on it.
sweatshirt to tie around your neck or
You know,
something?
like those helmets that you can put the drinks up here and got
Oh,
straws in it.
Okay.
But with water bottles.
Yeah. This is a school show, so we'll come back and talk Bellefontaine wrestling after this.
This is Trey Daring at Eichholz Daring and Sanford Funeral Homes and Cremation Center. We are committed to providing professional, tailored funeral and cremation services at affordable pricing. We are part of a community for caring individuals, friends, and neighbors who consider it a privilege to serve you in your time of need. We are proud to be locally owned and operated. Our family serving your family since 1903.
Go Chiefs!
Foresight Insurance and Financial Services is a locally owned and operated financial services provider for the state of Ohio, focusing our efforts on serving the residents of Logan County and surrounding counties. We are located at 1653 US 68 North Bellefontaine. Foresight can help you with all your retirement needs. We specialize in assisting with pension options. We also offer business planning, charitable gifting strategies, as well as life and health insurance. Call today at 937-595-5002. Foresight Insurance and Financial Services, in the business of planning life.
Hello, this is Luke Varner from Easton Water Solutions. How is your water? Does your water need improved? Put my 23 years of experience to work for you. Give me a call today, Luke Varner, Easton Water Solutions, 592-8379.
Your Realty, we value our clients and provide quality, professional services to Logan County and surrounding areas. Founded in 1988, our company prides itself on unique experiences that you can only find with us. Our area knowledge and negotiating expertise helps buyers and sellers achieve their goals. When you buy or sell with Royer Realty, you can use our moving truck free. Royer Realty, the realtors you know and trust.
Go Chiefs!
Welcome back to Chieftain Roll Calls, presented by Easton Water Solutions on South Main and Bellefontaine. I'm Bill Tipple with Aaron Labatt, who is the Bellefontaine boys wrestling coach, and two of his veteran wrestlers. We have junior Zane Tevis, who's a 138-pounder, and junior Parker Knox, who's a 190-pounder. Coach, last weekend was a big weekend at Bellefontaine High School. The Jimmy Mack Invitational, some people call it the Jimmy Mack Duels. And if you're new to the area, that's in honor of Jim McDonald, who was a longtime wrestling coach. Jim passed away a little over a year ago. Coach, when you were growing up, what kind of an influence did he have on the wrestling program? You were probably around to see that. You're old enough. So when you think about Jim McDonald, what comes to mind?
Mac was old school for sure. No, I love Mac. He was his last year as head coach was my freshman year. He was really good about just kind of little nuances and little details about wrestling. He'd pull you to the side. Hey, when this happens, try this. Or, hey, when you get into this situation, do this. So yeah, he definitely the ins and outs and maybe the smaller details that can be overlooked. He was good about those.
And he loved wrestling. So do you. I'm going to get a little bit closer to the microphone. You're back as the head coach.
Yep.
And you've been the head coach a couple of times, been an assistant a long time. What year did you graduate from Bellefontaine High?
2004.
Okay. Yeah, time flies. Been that long already. How do you think the team is doing right now? Now, we're only 2 meets in, but even more than just the matches, how do you think the Chiefs are doing here in the early portion of the season?
I think we're holding our own. We were talking a few minutes ago. We're pretty young. No seniors, 4 juniors. Everybody else is underclassmen. So I think maybe I anticipated some more growing pains than we're going through, and I'm sure we'll still have more of those. And there's certainly always things that we can improve on. But we went 4-1 at the Kenton Ridge Duels on the opening weekend, and then we got 4th at our tournament here last weekend. So I think solid's a pretty good way to put it. Solid start for us.
What was your role last year?
Assistant
coach. Okay. And then you became a head coach again. Previously, you were the head coach for 4 seasons?
Yep, 4 years.
Okay. What do you look for when you're making your team? Before going back to maybe even the summer, what are you looking for out of you, your staff, and your kids, your student athletes, to make everything kind of come together this time of the year?
As far as like the staff goes, we've all known each other a long time. Thankfully, I know some staffs kind of interchange coaches. But for us, our group, we've known each other a long time. We get along extremely well. We joke around a lot. I think the big thing is we're all on the same page. We value everybody's input. Hey, what do you think we need to work on today? So first is getting all the coaches on the same page as far as what we need to be doing or what we need to be working on, what we need to be looking for. For wrestlers, from a wrestling standpoint, personally, I'm big on cardio. I hate using the phrase "control what you can control" just because that always gets thrown out there, but it's so true. Cardio, conditioning. I hate if one of our guys loses a match or gets scored on just because he's tired, because that's something that they can fix. They should be able to control that before we get out there. So we condition. I try to work in a lot of wrestling. We'll do sprints in between. Today we were wrestling live. We did wall touches in between periods, things like that. So we really hit that really hard early on.
Who's the high school assistant wrestling coaches?
We got Johnny Maurice, Bellefontaine grad. I think he was 2012. 4-time state qualifier, state placers, junior year. And then we have Hunter Poole. Hunter actually coached with me when I was the head coach of the middle school. He had his job situation changed, and I've asked him for years to come on the staff, and he just hasn't been able to. And now he got a new job. Hunter was a 2-time state qualifier, 2-time state placer for the team up north, Ben Logan. Placed 3rd and 5th. So both those guys are super knowledgeable. But the interesting thing about our room is we're all in the same room. So Coach Spence, who was a district placer when he was in school, I think he graduated in 06. He's kind of a big guys coach, heavyweights coach. So he jumps in there too and helps out coaching and when he can, when he's not working with his middle school team.
Okay. Do you have junior high coaches?
Kyle's the head junior high coach.
Okay.
And then Damon Dixon is back. He's helping out, and he's Kyle's assistant.
Okay. All right. And then we have a girls coach now, which is Brady Hyatt.
Yep.
So it's changed a lot, certainly since you were a kid. Do the guys have any matches? When you go to an invitational or practices with the girls, or it's just totally separate, kind of like boys and girls basketball. That's totally separate.
Yep. I think just because we've worked together so much, we still bounce ideas off each other and coaching strategies or techniques. Because wrestling's wrestling, whether it's boys or it's girls. It's the same technique and maneuvers. So we talk a lot about that stuff. But yeah, as far as what you're asking, no, they're up on the balcony. Where when I was in school, that's where we used to wrestle. So they're up there, completely away from us, and we're down in the room, in the
The field house.
Field house, yeah.
Okay. All right. Now you've had 2 matches. Kenton Ridge Duels and the Jimmy Mack Invitational. How do you think the Chiefs fared in those 2 matches?
Pretty good. The Kenton Ridge Duels, we saw a lot of league schools, Springfield Shawnee, Urbana, who else was there? Kenton Ridge. Yeah, those are the 3. And we beat all those teams. So that obviously is going to fare well, hopefully later when we get to the league meet. And then we wrestled Miami East and lost to them. That was our loss. They're usually pretty good program. and then we beat Southeastern. They only have a handful of guys, so we did pretty good at that.
Jimmy Mack Invitational, you got fourth.
Fourth, we were in a position, and that's something that I know these guys have been excited about. Is they've been on Parker and Zane have been on some teams where we only had 7 guys in the roster. There's 14 varsity weight classes. So you're going into a duel, and if you don't have anybody in that weight class, you're giving up 6 points for a forfeit. So we're walking into duels where we're down 24, 36 points that we got to make up. And, hopefully we pin all of them and maybe we pull a win out. Right. So it's a little demoralizing going into something like that. So this year we got a couple guys that are moving weight classes around. So hopefully in our tri-meet tomorrow at Sydney, we're only giving up 1 weight class, which is a huge difference. And that's something that these guys have been excited about since our very first practice. They saw the numbers. They saw what we've grown. So the momentum, the vibe in the room is different. There's a lot of positive energy. These guys are working hard every day. So you're asking about Jimmy Mack, just how things are going. So where I was going with that was, for the Jimmy Mack, we're in a position where we have a chance to win team trophies. We have a chance to actually place high and not, because you go into a a tournament with 7 guys, 6 guys, especially if you got a lot of new guys, you're not so much worried about where the team's going to do. You're just focused on the individual performances. Well, it's more fun, obviously, when the team can have a lot of success and everybody can everybody's contributions count. So we were in that position at the Jimmy Mack. We were in second, I think, for 3 rounds. Had a chance to bring hardware home at our own tournament, which is always great. And then we kind of started fading there toward the end of the day, and we slipped back to 4th. So I think, we could have performed maybe a little bit better, finished a little bit better. There were a couple small mistakes we made here and there that cost guys matches, which cost them higher placement, which cost us more team points, which could have moved us up the ladder in the team standings.
A couple of general things, and we'll talk to the athletes, Zane and Parker. CBC, we got the Kenton Trail Division, which Bellefontaine is in, and the Mad River. Who are the favorites? Who else kind of got your attention early on?
Kenton Trail, I'm going to say Jonathan Alder. They're usually pretty good. They're traditionally pretty good. They still have most of their guys. London was really good last year, but they graduated. I mean, they had several. I think they had a state champion, a couple high state placers that are gone now. Thad Huff was one of them, Antoine Burns. But they graduated, so their head coach Richard Burns actually left. He went back to his alma mater, Hillsborough, who came to our tournament.
Oh,
so Richard Burns he's a great guy. His kids last year were great. He's just a good dude, and he's going to do good things. So I see London I'm kind of uncertain on, but I think Jonathan Alder's definitely up there. And then just based on our dual meet scores and kind of what I saw at Kenton Ridge between Shawnee and Kenton Ridge. There wasn't a huge gap. We didn't demolish them by any means. The scores were close. So I think we're all kind of in that same mix. I think Alder's probably leading the pack, and then everybody else is kind of we'll have to see how it plays out by the time we get to the league meet.
how about the Mad River?
Graham, they got a new coach. They've had a couple guys transfer out. So from a national standpoint, you're not going to see, ranked 3rd nationally, Graham did this or that. But they're still going to be they're still the heavy favorites in Division II this year. So they'll win the Mad River, and then Indian Lake has just, I think they have like 32 guys on their roster this year.
Oh my!
They're big. Ryan, Coach Dixon over there, they got some good momentum going over there. They got plenty of dudes. They're young. They got young guys coming up, headed by Owen Pummel and Czar Dixon. But I'd say, if not for Graham, they're going to be second in the Mad River, and they should be second overall in the league, I would guess.
Okay, so they're very strong. Whenever you talk about the guys, we'll start with Zane to your right. What you see in Zane as a wrestler, and just things that you might know about him that we don't know. You get to spend a lot of time with these guys. So when you think of Zane Tevis, what comes to mind as a wrestler and just as a young person?
Zane's hungry. He wrestled in middle school. We've talked, and he enjoyed wrestling, and I think now we're to this point where he loves wrestling. Him and Parker both. They both went to camps over the summer. I know Zane went to Ohio State camp. They both went to Jeff Jordan's camp over the summer. He's kind of transitioning to that point where wrestling isn't just from November to March. It's all summer. He's a baseball guy. He loves baseball too, so he plays baseball. But if he's not playing baseball, he's wrestling. And he's definitely put in the work, and I've seen him just kind of transform mentally on, he knows what he needs to do. He's not a guy that I have to worry about. You get in there and you got, kind of got to get the team going. Kind of, come on, guys, let's get to it. I just look over and Zane's already grabbed his drill partner and they're already getting after it. But as I've told him, he knows how to be a dog out there and get after it. So
That's a big compliment in this sport.
yeah, no, he's earned it. I don't say that about anybody, but he's earned that.
How about Parker Knox, the 190-pounder?
Parker's jumped. We've been working on transitioning him a little bit. He wrestled. Would you wrestle Park 65 last year?
165.
So you wrestle 165 and wrestle 190. It's just kind of a different style. You got bigger guys, bigger bodies, and he's still trying to transition a little bit. He's doing we call it light guy stuff, where he's shooting more underneath. And we always tell our heavier guys, if you shoot underneath somebody, be prepared for all that weight to come on top of you. So we're trying to get him to try some different things, a little bit more, over-unders and throws up top, things like that. Coach Spence has been working with those guys. So we're transitioning him a little bit. But Parker's a guy that, last year it was, you'd see him wrestle well, and then he'd get in certain situations, and he was right there where if he just did this or he just did that or he changed this a little bit, it was going to win a match for him. And that happened, 10 times, 12 times.
Oh, my.
So
A lot of close matches.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he could have changed those things last year, we're saying district qualifier. We're saying, 20, 30 win season. So, this year he's, you've only lost one match, right? 2 matches? 3. Okay. So, obviously he's off to a good start. It's a marathon, wrestling season is. But he's a guy that I definitely see at the district tournament, So he keeps grinding and working with Charlie Bible, his drill partners. I think good things are going to happen for him.
Is it you've been around for so long, is it unusual to see a guy go from a 65-pounder to a 90-pounder in one season?
It happens. I think, it doesn't happen all the time. That's not the most extreme I've ever seen. But, a guy jumping – some of it's just because of the way the weight classes fell. They've rearranged the weight classes, I think, last season, but or 2 years ago. But, I mean, I've seen in 1 year a guy go up 4 weight classes. CP Schlater, if you remember, that's a
Graham.
throwback name.
Yeah, Graham.
At Graham, he wrestled 35 I don't know if it was sophomore or junior year, but then the next year he wrestled 152.
Okay.
So he jumped up there, and that's a pretty big jump. So
Well, let's talk to the guys. Zane, what grade were you in when you took up wrestling?
8th grade.
8th grade. Now, the way the coach explained it, you kind of got the bug.
Yeah.
You're as much as you can be a full-time wrestler, and that's what the really good ones do. They do it in the summer. They're busy. I mean, it's heavy lifting in the summer. What has made you grow? What has made you get that love for the sport?
Well, last year I had an abrupt ending to the season, and that really just made me, hungry for more, because it's just annoying to think about it every day that I could have gone further than what I did, and I've wanted to focus on putting in the work to be able to do so and prove to people that I'm better than what I've shown.
Okay. How have you done so far?
This year I'm 8-1.
Oh, very good.
I went 5-0 at KR Duels, and then Jimmy Mack last Saturday I went 3-1.
The guy that beat you last week, do you remember where he was from?
Hillsboro.
Hillsboro. Okay. And I think they won the tournament.
Beaver Creek
No.
won the tournament.
No, that's right. But they were up there.
They were up there, oh, yeah.
Yeah, as far as the team standings. You're a 38-pounder. Was that your weight class last year?
Last year I wrestled 26 and 32. I kind of switch in between them, but next week I'm able to go down to 32, which I am most likely going to do because I'm a little guy for a 38-pounder. So,
okay, what's it take to be good in wrestling? And obviously the work. Coach talks about that. He's a hard worker himself. But if you were looking at a new wrestler, couple 3 attributes like on the mat, is it strength? Is it balance? What do you look for in a good wrestler?
Well, with most guys, you're just gonna want to pound technique into them. I mean, a guy can be as strong as they want, but if the other dude that they're wrestling has more technique, then that guy's gonna win every time. And then mindset, you have to come in every day, and you have to know that you're there to get better, and you're there to be a dog, and you have to just know that you're the alpha dog in any situation, because if you don't have that mindset, then you're never going to come out on top.
Is the sport as much mental as it is physical.
Oh, I would say so, absolutely.
Okay. What's it like on match day? Are you nervous? Are you
Yeah,
excited?
yeah, I get nervous before every match. I mean, at KR, I was, when we were warming up, first tournament of the season, I was breathing heavy and walking back and forth, and I was getting my pace up a little bit. And the same thing happened at Jimmy Mack, no difference. And I'm sure that that'll happen all throughout the rest of the year, because when you have love for the sport like that and you want to be able to do as best as you can, you're always going to be nervous.
What goals do you have? What goals do you have in mind? It's still so early. Thursday night, the Chiefs are at Sydney for a try with Sydney and Pickwick. But if we're having the same talk, February, March, what do you want the season to look like?
Well, I definitely want to be able to have, at least probably 30 wins on the season, because I'm trying to get to that big 100. And last year I came in at third at the CBC meet, looking to always improve and do better there. And then last year I came short from qualifying for districts, but I feel like that I've put in the work to be able to qualify for state, because I know I have the skill, and I've worked on my mindset so much that I think I can be able to do that.
Have you become a much better wrestler because of the camps that Aaron talked about, those off-season camps?
Definitely.
What happens at those camps? I've never been to one. What happens?
Well, the first camp that Parker and I went to was the Jeff Jordan camp, and we wrestle 3 times a day there. So we would get little breaks in between each session. 2 sessions of the day would be like technique, 2 hours each, and then the last session in the evening would be alive for like an hour 50. So yeah, it really gets
cardio.
It really gets pounded into us there, and I think just all the repetition, it gets engraved in our brains. So it definitely made us better.
Okay, you do baseball as well.
Yep.
Okay, catcher.
Yep.
Okay, that's what you would expect out of a wrestler to be the catcher. Parker Knox is with us too. He's a 190-pounder. He's the young man we talked about that went from 165 to 190. Parker, what grade did you take up wrestling?
I also started in 8th grade with Wes. I mean, Zane. Zane Wes convinced me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what do you like about the sport?
I just love the physicality and the competition of the sport. Like at first, I just joined to get better at football, but now I have like a love like Zane, and I feel like I'm committed to it like year round. I constantly want to get better.
Okay. What did those camps do for you?
They definitely like kind of showed me what it was like at a higher level, because the people that go to those camps are obviously like very they got the desire to get better, and so it really showed me like what I could be and where I'm at with everybody. But it also just taught me a lot of technique and got me on the mat more than I was getting on before.
Okay. Do you agree with Zane that the sport of wrestling is so mental? Like how you feel before the match, what you see is probably what will happen. Does that happen in a lot of your matches?
Yeah. You got to constantly believe you're going to win the match, or you just have no chance.
Are you much more confident now than you were a year ago?
Yes. Way more confident, because a year ago, coming into the season, I didn't have many wins, but like last year, I started to get more wins, and I started to realize that I could win more.
Okay. Who do you drill with usually?
I drill with Charlie Bible.
Okay. How does he make you better, and maybe how do you make him better?
We both push each other really hard in practice, and like he's a little bit bigger than me. He's a couple weight classes higher, so it helps me with my strength, and just knowing if I could finish shots on him, I could finish shots on people my weight, things like that. And I think I also help him with like, because I'm obviously going to be more faster than like the people he's wrestling, since I'm in a smaller weight class.
Have you had to, Coach Labatt talked about this, have you had to change your style, going from 65, which is, I would say, kind of a middle weight in wrestling. I mean, there's big gaps in weights. They go from about 100 pounds to 285, but there's a lot of guys in that 150, 160, 170 weight group or weight range, but now you're 190. Have you changed your style much?
Yeah, last year I was definitely shooting a lot more than I am this year. This year I'm more relying on like snap downs and throws, but I'm also trying to like incorporate what I do know from being at 165 into being 190 as well.
And I asked this to Zane. I'll ask you, when we're talking in February or March, what will make it a successful season? What do you want to have happen the next few months?
I definitely want to place higher than fourth, what I did at CBC's last year. And I want to qualify for districts and just see how far I can go from there.
And I know you said you're obviously a football guy. You were an offensive lineman, played some defensive line too. Now that you've done wrestling for a while, being a junior in high school, how is wrestling helping your football, and maybe vice versa? How does maybe football help a wrestler?
They both go hand in hand. I think anybody that wrestles should play football, and anybody that plays football should wrestle, because I mean, they both help with endurance and footwork and strength, balance, just about everything.
Okay. Do you have an interest to wrestle beyond high school, by the way, or that's still kind of
I
up in
do.
the air? You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Coach, let's wrap it up with you. Thursday, you're at Sydney. Try meet with Sydney and Piqua. And then you also wrestle right before Christmas. I think it's Wednesday, the 21st. What do you see the next couple meets? What you'll be looking for out of the guys?
Well, the one thing we've seen so far that we want to continue to build on is toughness. To me, there's no greater compliment, or not many greater compliments, than for other people to come up and say, "Man, those guys look tough. Your guys look tough." Because that's something you can't teach that. I can't go in there and teach them how to be tough. You either are or you aren't. And
No middle.
no, I mean, we've in the past we've had guys, we've told them, are we tough or are we kind of tough? If you're kind of tough, you're not really tough.
Okay, I get the picture.
So, we've worked a lot this week on just kind of getting in bad situations, being in a headlock, being put in a half Nelson, cradles are some of the main things, and just fighting out of that, and just how you have to refuse to give in. If there's 10 seconds left or 50 seconds left in the period, you have to fight just the same. Just stay off your back and refuse to give in to that, and just say, I want to be done. And then a lot of that just comes with pride, and you walk off the mat knowing that you gave everything you possibly could have to win that match. And if you didn't, you didn't, but you can live with it. So
Who do you have next Wednesday, the 21st?
Kenton.
Here?
Yep.
At Bellefontaine. Okay.
Yep, we haven't wrestled them it's been a while. It's kind of
Do you know anything about their team right now?
No, to be perfectly honest,
Okay.
when I was working the schedule, I just wanted to get us something before Christmas break, and I was looking at schools that they're somewhat close by, and we'd be willing to travel. So.
How about over break? Do you have any meets?
Nope, we didn't go to any holiday tournaments this year. December was kind of light in general. We KR duels, Jimmy Mack. We got a try on tomorrow, and then that duel next Wednesday. But other than that, December's done. Kind of light, but then because part of that is wrestling's 5 months essentially. State tournaments like the middle of March, so it's a grind. And then so we kind of really ramp things up in January. We have a tournament the first 3 weekends. We have a program duel. We have a tri meet. So January is pretty full, and then February is pretty full too.
Coach, thanks for coming on our show tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Zane, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Parker, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
It's Aaron Labatt, the head boys wrestling coach at Bellefontaine High School. Zane Tevis, who's a junior, 138-pounder. Parker Knox is a junior, 190-pounder. The Chiefs again Thursday night will be at Sydney. What time does that start, Coach?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Then the 21st, they'll be home against Kenton for a duel. What time does that one start?
5:30.
5:30. So your chance to see the Chiefs home right before Christmas on the 21st. Thanks to our other guests tonight, regulars on the show, Rick Reed and Jack Varner. For all of them, I'm Bill Tipple saying so long. It's Chieftain Roll Call, presented by Easton Water Solutions, here from the WBCS studios. Take care.